This is the first weekend post-ban list crossover breakers format. Snake Eye is all but done. Tenpai is a lot weaker. And so now that some of the high-end decks of the previous format have been nerfed in power or just taken out completely, we're going to see more low-end strategies that are good into Ryzeal and Malice take up some slots. So Goblin Biker didn't just get one top this weekend, it actually got two different tops at two different events this weekend. One of them is in Spain, Valencia. Approximately 100 duelists. Goblin Biker took a top 8 slot here. You look at the list and it's a 43 card list. It's a pure list. It's not on any Fiendsmith, no Kashtira, nothing really out of the ordinary here. No Punk as a sub engine. They are committed fully to the Goblin Biker side of the engine, so double Gone Wild, triple Doug, double Clatter Sploder, which I'm seeing a lot of people move on to two of these now, which I may follow suit because the extra space is really tight. So I may go down to a single Gabanga, and I think double Clatter is going to help me deal with the fact that I may only have a single Gabanga. Also, since you may be playing Entrance at 3, since Entrance is really good into Ryzeal, you're going to want to have another target to search that isn't just Doug. Because Breakout's great. Like, Breakout's great to, like, if you go, like, Entrance into Doug into Breakout, that's cool. But then, like, you're just going, like, summon Gone Wild, and then Gone Wild is just going to summon a level 3 monster, which isn't really going to get you to where you want to be. So I definitely think double Clatter Sploder is going to be the way to go for the upcoming format and moving forward. One Mean Merciless and then double Boom Mock. It's not bad as a hand trap into certain matchups. If Ryzeal players aren't careful and they're not attaching someone to their duo drive before on summon, then if you have a Boom Mock in hand, you can stop the double search. There's probably like a few more situations where like them not having like two materials can come up. If they negate Boom Mock with Caesar, then you actually just get to resolve Boom Mock again, because it's not a once per turn effect. It is just once it's summoned, then it can't be summoned again for the next 2 turns. It's kind of like trying to use a negate on like a value. Like if you use like a Solemn Strike or something on a value, it doesn't banish for cost. So essentially you just waste a negate on it and it just gets to use its effect again. Boom Mock is kind of the same way. As long as it stays in hand or graveyard, it gets to keep activating its effect until it actually summons itself. I don't think it's necessary as a 2-of. It worked out for this player. If we look at the top 8, we only see one Ryzeal in here. This Voiceless Voices, Dogmatica. We see a bit of Fire King, no longer on Diabellstar. And then we see double Malice here. I mean, Malice is slightly cheaper than Ryzeal, so I guess more people are going to be on Malice. And Malice is also a more technical deck. Like it rewards more interaction heavy play, so if you understand the format and how to play around things better, Malice might be the better deck of the two. But the fact that like even Goblin Biker was able to succeed even in an event with Malice and Ryzeal at the top tables, I think is a pretty good sign. Going on to the rest of their engine, we see like Tour Guide, Terror Top, we see one wielder, one tracker. And this is in both lists actually that top this weekend. They're both on a single wielder and a single tracker. The other Goblin Biker list that topped, because that one has a deck profile, he was saying that these cards don't really do a lot for him, and that mostly you're going to be e-telling into the Nian. I think they're good extenders, like in case you get hit by like an Imperm or Ash or something. You don't need to play these guys in theory, but in practice, I don't think they're terrible. Especially if you're playing this many rank 3s. Like, dude, I think it's like kind of just inevitable that you'll want some extra bodies to make some more plays. So wielder, tracker, great cards. We see 12 non-engine, so we see 3 Ash, 3 Droll, 3 Droplet, 3 Imperm. I don't mind this choice. The lack of Nibiru, I think Nibiru isn't that effective this format. I think playing more of a breaker kind of thing, where it's like these are kind of good going first or second. Like Droll can be good into stopping the Fuelos or Perulia that you may have to deal with. Same thing for like Ash Blossom. So these not only beat certain strategies or help you play through certain strategies, but also can help you play through hand traps as well. So that's why these can be good going first or going second, depending on the situation. And now we see the Goblin Biker Grand Bash in the list, and you can see their dedication to the Goblin Biker engine. like they're playing more Goblin Bikers than like usual. And now that we're on triple grand entrant, it's like, let's say you start with something like Tour Guide, your Gabanga gets stopped for whatever reason, which they're not supposed to stop Gabanga. They're supposed to stop your normal summon. If you want to stop Goblin Biker, stopping the normal summon is like the most consistent way to beat the deck. Like there's, if you wait until I have an Exceed monster on the field, you can get punished by Doug Charger, by Entrance, by Breakout. So just stop the normal summon is usually the way to go. So yeah, in case like Tour Guide gets stopped, or in case like one of your other Goblin Bikers gets stopped, and you may have like an Entrance, or you may have a Breakout and a Grand Bash, it's like you can turn that like negated monster still into Gabanga or into one of your Exceed plays. You can make rank 6s like Lars, which I'm surprised Lars is the only rank 6 here. I know Caesar isn't as viable when your only fiends are Mean Merciless and Gone Wild, but they're, you know, the fact that there's no Crazy Beast and we're on like Trioka Gruyere is kind of insane to me. It's like, I guess this card better going second into a board because you don't have to clear the board to go for game, especially with Grand Bash. Like if you control Trioka plus Gabanga and like 2 other Goblin monsters, that's like OTK right there. Like you don't even need to overlay, you don't need to do anything. If you just have like your low to the ground, just summon a Goblin, summon a Goblin, summon a Goblin with Grand Bash, like the attack is going to add up because each monster gains 300 for each. So even having 3 different Goblin monsters, Gabanga is going to be a 3k, this guy's going to be at like 28. I do also hold that Trioka, in like a pure build, Trioka is one of the best shifter plays. So if you want to play through a shifter, it's like a lot of your engine is a little too graveyard dependent. So Trioka is like the only card that like doesn't care about shifter like at all, just because it can stop them from like gaming you. And other than that, I think the Shen is interesting. I know Wielder's a tuner, and Nian Yan, when she revives herself off of her own effect, she's also a tuner. So there are going to be some turns where you may be able to turn Nian Yan plus Gone Wild into Shen. Shen is kind of goated here because it's almost like the same reason why you'd play D-Fissure, or your Exceed materials don't count as cards on the field, so they would not be sent to, or they would not be banished. They would be sent to the graveyard like business as usual, while every other card that may be reliant on either your opponent's engine or what may have you could fall victim to a Shen. So I think this is like a good, in case you don't feel like you have the space for a D-Fissure, this is a good way to utilize your engine without taking up the main deck space. Although this doesn't beat Droll and Veiler. That was the biggest thing about Dimensional Fissure as well, is that like the ability to stop Droll and Veiler from being big hand traps to stop you. Because I feel like looking at this list, I don't see how it beats Droll unless you hard open E-Telly or you hard open Breakout. There's no way to play your Goblin engine through Droll unless you're pulling Breakout out your ass. I mean, you have to resolve Breakout when you start with these guys. That's what the Fiendsmith engine is for. The Fiendsmith engine helps you play through a Droll. So if people start seeing Droll as a way to play this format, the pure variant of Goblin Biker is not going to do as well anymore because it's going to have a really tough time into that hand trap. Unless you're on Crossout. I think Crossout is actually a good answer for Droll. Shen's a good choice here. I think everything else here is pretty self-explanatory, like Aggregator's here for the Ultimate Slayer. You don't need to summon this guy despite being on Grand Bash. Typhon's really good into Ryzeal. Zeus is always great. I do think this card would be better if we were playing Crazy Beast, because I think Crazy Beast into Zeus is like my favorite way to make it now. Because you can go like Crazy Beast, Dark Knight Lantern, Zeus. And it's like double board wipe. Crazy Beast gets to bring itself back, actually gaming. The Totem Bird here is really interesting because it allows you to use like your Nian Yan and like a Boom Mock that you may have searched like last minute to make a spell trap negate, so you can have like double spell trap negate on your field with Lars and Totem Bird. It's not as good into Dark Ruler or Droplet when you do it like this, because that's kind of like the biggest appeal of Desiree, is that like if you mix it with like a FAX at the right time or something, then you get to play through certain board breakers that like you wouldn't get to play through normally with just like Lars or Totem Bird. If you're on a budget and you can't afford the Fiendsmith engine, I feel like this is like as good as it gets. Maybe Side Solemn Judgment or something if that's what you're worried about. And then yeah, so extra deck is pretty standard other than Chirioka. Looking at the side, we see triple Lancia, triple Perulia. I think playing this at 3 makes sense if you don't have Fluolos. If you do have Fluolos, I would say you can cut this down to like 1 or 2 copies. You don't need to play 3 of this, because it's going to be a lot less effective into a lot of matchups other than Ryziel. And even then, it's like Ryziel can just, if they start with Ice, they can just pivot into the Fiendsmith engine and just go like Detonator plus Desiree. Just end on that. If they know that you're on Goblin Biker, they may not make the Caesar because it may not do anything for them. Ultimate Slayer makes sense, right? Unfortunately, it targets, so it can't get rid of Desiree. That's my only issue with Ultimate Slayer. That would be the one reason I may pick Book of Eclipse over this card in this format, but it's definitely not a terrible choice because it just gets rid of so much, and it does play well into Malice as well, despite your only monster being SP. I think having your only lake monster be SP is actually kind of crazy if you're trying to play into Malice. But yeah, Terahertz can't beat this either. So cross out is great, you know, D-Barrier, Droll, Ash. You're gonna see Dominus Impulse a lot less this format, but I believe Malice still plays it. Am I crazy, or is Malice no longer on Dominus Impulse? No, they're definitely on it. This one has it in main, this one has it inside. Fire King, no Impulse anywhere in your list? Now that's crazy. That for what? Ghost Ogre and I think for like Draco Sack and the Arsenal Falcon. Yeah, actually, Kashtira Fire King does make sense because you can go Arsenal Falcon into the Okanix, and Okanix starts your turn, I guess. But I don't know, like not playing Impulse at all just feels wrong. And then yeah, Voiceless is playing Purge here, so that makes sense. Dominus Impulse is going to be within certain matchups. I would say if you can afford to have like a single Dominus Impulse, I would say you should probably invest into it so that you're not getting screwed by the card, because this deck has a game plan for every card just about, other than Dominus Impulse. Dominus Impulse is the one card that like this deck does not have a game plan for. If you do not have a certain number of extenders in your hand and Impulse is mixed with any hand trap, it's not going to go well for you. So this is a more budget list. This is a list I thought was more interesting out of the two, just because it did well. Now Valencia did only have approximately around 100 people. It may not have been as big of an event as this one. The Wisconsin regional yesterday, Milwaukee, or I don't know if it was yesterday or if it was. So we look at this top 8 spread, right? We got 3 Ryziel, 2 Malice, and then we have Goblin Biker in not just top 8 but in top 4, possibly meaning they either only had 1 draw or 1 loss throughout the whole event. 200 people, so it's going to be around 8 or 9 rounds. I think 8 rounds if it's 200 people. And it's a Goblin Biker, Beansmith, and Kashtira in the mix. So just like the last list, double Gone Wild, which I think is just engine requirement. If you start with one, you want to attach one to Gabanga on end phase, so you always want to play 2 of it. Doug Charger at 3 because it's great. Yeah, so triple Doug, a double Clatter, just like the last list, because follow-up is too good. 1 Boommock, 1 Mean Merciless. So, because this guy has a deck profile, it's on Rogue Heroes channel, and he was saying that he didn't really use Mean Merciless summon from hand much. Oh, he's not playing Tour Guide. Okay, that makes sense. I was about to say, I'm like, wait a minute, that's like the best thing that you can do when you have like Tour Guide. You could like Mean Merciless, summon it back, summon from hand. But without Tour Guide, I guess you really don't need that. If we're being real, like if you're not playing Tour Guide, what's the point of playing Mean Merciless? I guess like there are a few grand entrance routes, but like without having immediate access to this card, half the time if you summon Doug off of like Gone Wild or like off of normal summon, like when you grand entrance, you're just gonna get back Doug and then summon it off of its own effect. So I don't know if you need to play Mean Merciless if you're not on Tour Guide. Which is an interesting question, but it is still a decent extender to have, and it's not like it's a terrible card to keep in your main deck. It's just weird. I've never seen this deck without Tour Guide like at all. I've gone down to 1 Tour Guide because I can combo with Fiendsmith to get access to it, but to just not have Tour Guide at all, that's really interesting. So triple Terratop, and we see 2 Engraver. He said he wanted to play 3 Engraver, but you know he didn't have access to a 3rd one. Lacrima, Tracker, Wielder, Lurie, triple Nib, 2 Unicorn, 1 Fenrir. This I kind of like because he's on Right Sylph, he's on Birth, so Unicorn can be a good way to lower your opponent's ceiling. Going first, if they like hand trap you, you punish them by like banishing a monster out of their extra deck, and then like if you're going into Ryziel, Oftentimes they may only play 2 of a like detonator or only 2 dual drive, so you can like banish the one that you think is more impactful or more punishing in the matchup. So I think like with everyone on Unicorn, I think Ryzeal players should start considering a detonator at 3 because of Unicorn in the format. Then we have Fenrir, right? Because it's just a good thing to search off right self going second. It's a good card just to have. Triple Fulos in the main. So this deck, it's like 10 cards higher than the last list, but they're fitting 3 more slots for non-engine. So we have like triple Ghost Ogre, triple Ash, triple Fulos, triple Imperm, then triple Nibiru. And then I guess there is 17 non-engine because you have the 2 triple tactics. So that's slightly more. There's a slightly better chance of seeing non-engine. In a 50 card deck, let's just do the math real quick. So in his list, he has nearly 90% chance to see 1. What about the chance to see 2? It's like a coin flip to see 2 non-engine in his hand, which it's about like you want to be a little higher than this if you're playing Goblin Biker. Into Ryzeal, like I think it doesn't matter as much, but playing into other matchups this format, I think you want to be a little higher than this. I would probably try to find some more space for non-engine if I were him. I think you want to have more of like a 60 or 70% chance of seeing 2 non-engine. And that's not just including hand traps, that's including like space for like board breakers. Now he was saying that he was like siding in thrust a lot. He was taking out like maybe like breakout and sometimes going second, which I think is a good idea. I'm taking out like stuff like Burf or like other things like that going second, or like the wielder and the tracker going second could also be a good idea. So you have more space for like your breakers, your evenlies. I definitely like the list. I don't mind the Cashier stuff being here. It only takes up 5 slots in main, and I mean, like, honestly, you can play without it. I don't think it's a necessary or even like a vital part of the strategy, but it does allow you to do better into the Ryzeal matchup. So I think it's something worth considering if you don't feel confident in your end boards. So the extra deck, which looks like a mess, but I can decipher through it. It's all pretty standard for like a Beansmith Goblin Biker list. IP is usually personal preference. You don't have to play it. The only reason why I don't like IP is because I can't make it off sequence. So usually it's like when I go full combo, IP is just gonna sit in my extra deck. It's not gonna be in my end boards usually if like I'm allowed to play. Whereas like if this really to me only seems like a worst case scenario kind of thing. Either I get debarriered or something, and I just like can't make my full board. So that's when I would go IP personally. And then Sprined here is for time. You know, he has it for the scatter shot, and he said that it just wasn't a good card for him to play, and that he would have rather play Typhon, which I think would have been a better card as well. Typhon does do pretty well into a lot of matchups, Ryzeal included. So I think, yeah, putting Typhon here wouldn't be a bad idea. Going to the side, we have Triple Lancia, which I'm not sure if you need Triple Lancia if you're on Thrust and Sanctum. It's like at that point, it's probably because you're on 50 cards. That would be my biggest guess as to why 3 Lancia would be more effective here. But if you're on Thrust and Sanctum, I think like it's okay to just play a single Lancia because you already have like 5 ways into it. And it's like, unless you're really like that scared of, like, your engine is good enough going first, this would be more for going second and you just want to stop Malice from being able to play the game. Maybe you should side hard into Malice because Malice is the scarier deck to face compared to Ryzeal. Maybe siding this hard into Malice is the correct thing to do, or I feel like if you're playing the triple Lancia and the Sanctum and then the triple Thrust as well, it feels a bit like excessive, doesn't it? Even though Thrust can be any of the trap cards, in which I also don't think like Gnomes is like the best thing here. But the reason why I think Gnomes was a smart play compared to D-Barrier is because if you try to use Gnomes into the Ryzeal matchup, then all your Exceed monsters are fucking negated for the rest of the turn. Could be really impactful if like you're trying to hit them with Crazy Beast or like Caesar. Like, you don't want to hit them with fucking D-Barrier too early, so it'll be too awkward with D-Barrier. So I understand why he may have chose Gnomes over the D-Barrier, but I still think D-Barrier is a good card here. And then double evenly, it's like if you're playing Thrust, you might as well only play a single copy. But what other trap cards are there to play? What other breakers are there to play? Sometimes you do kind of want to see it, but being on 52 cards, it's like the chances of you seeing a 2 of are already pretty low. I mean, the deck worked. It did what it needed to do. And I guess like having more ways into one card to stop Malice is not a bad idea. Pileup is a staple. It's crazy that the other build had like no Pileup, no crazy beasts. They were on Grand Bash. And you know what? Goblin Biker is really explosive. It's a really strong deck if you know how to pilot it. It's like you don't even have to play it perfectly, I think, to do well when people leave Exceed monsters on the field, honestly. Like, and this isn't trying to insult, this is just like the way it is. It's like you really don't have to play the deck perfectly to do well into this format. I think if you just understand how the cards work, and you also see the amount of variance between the two different lists at top. I do think Fiendsmith is the best way to play it, but it's not the only way that you're allowed to play it. Because even like, if we were to start to see more Goblin Biker players, and people were to start playing, you start running into mirror matches, most likely the person going second has a way higher chance. Well, I don't want to say way higher chance, but assuming that they both draw 2 non-engine, a starter, and 2 extenders, and then the 6th card can be whatever, I think the person going second has the advantage, because the first player is going to leave Exceed monsters on the field that the second player can utilize to activate some of their effects. So it's going to be a lot easier for the second player, regardless of what the 2 non-engine are. It's going to be a lot easier for the second player to play their turn and do what they have to do using the opponent's Exceed materials. I've never seen a Goblin Biker mirror match, but I think I have to start gearing up for what if my opponent is actually on the same deck as me, because that would be a very funny scenario to be in. I don't hate the side, I just think it's a little disorganized. I think like playing 2 ofs, it's like you're on 52 cards. It's like playing 5 copies of a card. Let's see, let's do the math here. Let's see, 6 card hand, and you're playing 5 copies of a card. It's almost a coin flip that you draw either your Ultimate Slayer or your Evenly, which I think is fine, or your talents, I guess, too. I think that really only gets carried by the Foolos. I think Foolos would be the main reason, and then you mix that with Unicorn. I guess like having a diverse range of ways to break the board isn't terrible. And me personally, I do think Feather Duster and Lightning Storm are going to be more valuable now, because people are starting to be on Solemns, Strike, Judgment. So I think backer removal is going to be a lot more important. And if you took out the Scatter Shot for time, I feel like you'd have and then you could save more of your, so if you save more of your engine for going second, I feel like you could do a lot better into it. You could definitely get more games like that. Really good stuff. It was like a 200 person event. Fucking Ryziel all over the place, Malice all over the place, Buster Blader, Fiendsmith actually made it to the top tables as well, which just is a really funny list. Posted it in the Discord just because I thought it was really interesting. As I said, people are going to be on Solemns now, Chaos Hunter as well. And this guy's like on like the minimum number of hand traps, like 2 Bell, 2 Ash, and just 3 Imperm, and he's like, yep, that's good enough. Resolve Prologue. It's like Trap Trick, Resolve Prologue. That is my turn. And then Black Metal into the Metal Morph or Full Metal Dragon. Those were the 2 Goblin Biker lists that topped this past weekend. Really great stuff. I'm loving that Goblin Biker's getting more attention and getting more love. There's so many different hand traps and things that we have to worry about this format. You know, it may take me a few more days to put all that stuff together and then to edit it down, but you know, it's coming, it's on the way, and I may make some smaller videos along the way, but just know I'm still working on it. All right, so it's been your boy Nistro here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys would play differently in your Goblin Biker lists, because there seems to be a lot of variance with it, and it seems to be a deck that you can kind of just put your own twist into. I do like that 42 card list or 43 card list, and if you are on a budget with Goblin Biker, this definitely looks like the standard for budget Goblin Biker list going forward. You can swap around a few cards, but I think like in terms of like just affordability, this should be the affordable way to play Goblin Biker moving forward, I think, definitely. And I'm hoping more people can take this deck to events and do well with it, so that, you know, we can give this deck more attention, because it's just such a fun deck to play. I think everyone should try Goblin Biker at least once and just see how they like it. And there's a large array of rank 3s. Like, it's not the perfect rank. I think rank 4s are like the perfect rank. It's just Ryziel's so good, you don't really need to utilize most of the rank 4s. But rank 3s are like really unique and really diverse, and there's a lot of them that you can utilize to find success. So this has been your boy Nistro here, signing out.